What's good, guys? Welcome back to the podcast Counterclockwise. I know this window is bright as shit, but we're gonna get through it anyway. So welcome back. I do apologize for my absence. I definitely understand when YouTubers like leave for a while and don't want to record, or they just forget to, or it's on the last thing on their priority list. But I was sick for the past couple days. I still have a sore throat right now, but I just understand where they're coming from. So we're still trying to smooth things out, get a proper schedule down, and my goal is to hash everything out so that come 2020, everything will be Gucci. So the topic I wanted to talk about today was caffeine, and to really understand, is it really a problem in today's society, or are we just overreacting to caffeine? Is Michelle Obama doing too much? You know what I mean? So, okay, so just getting straight to it, caffeine scientifically is a central nervous system stimulant that affects the methylxanthine class, which, long story short, makes it a psychoactive drug to an extent. On paper, it is a psychoactive drug. And for some reason, something about that so psychedelic, psychoactive, psychology, psychiatric, like for some reason, it's that prefix that turns people off, that scares people. But all that means is that it's affecting your nervous system, aka the brain. And you should not be afraid of it, just for the record. I mean, we're starting to get over it. Shrooms are becoming legal in certain states, but hey, we'll get there one day. So as of right now, it is the most widely used drug on earth, whether that be eating cacao leaves, drinking coffee, drinking Red Bulls. Like, point is, it is the most common, most popularly used psychoactive drug on earth, and which is kind of weird, because if it's a drug scientifically and it's the most popular, you would think that it would be somewhat illegal or somewhat regulated, but when actually it's opposite. It's completely legal, and for the most part unregulated. So that was actually surprising when I did my research about what countries ban the use of caffeine. There are tariffs on coffee from certain countries, but that has nothing to do with the caffeine in them. It just has to do with bartering and trying to make money and trying to stop other countries from profiting. So going even further scientifically, caffeine, since it affects the central nervous system, it blocks the adenosine chemical. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And that basically is the chemical that tells you when you need rest. So whenever you're feeling drowsy, feeling tired, fatigue, that's the chemical that's telling you to do that, you need some type of energy to be restored. Well, caffeine shuts that out completely. So you may be on the decline for, energy, but your body does not know the difference. That's why when you have caffeine, you can crash, because as soon as that caffeine effect is gone, your battery is already on red. So that's what had made me have a better understanding about caffeine, and just being more aware of, like, wow, like, I'm tricking my body. So yeah, it definitely works when you need it to, but that's why you got to be careful with how much you are consuming. So it also stimulates the autonomic nervous system, which is things that you automatically do without thinking about it. So that would be blinking, breathing. Can't think of anything else right now, but stuff like that. Heartbeat, everything like that. So because it stimulates those things, you tend to do those things quicker. So if you notice, oh, my heartbeat's increasing after I drink that Red Bull, or I'm breathing a little faster and quicker, or I'm blinking a lot, that's from the caffeine intake in your body. It's just a side effect. It tends to not be too bad, too much of an adverse effect, but, it happens. There's good and there's bad with caffeine. You can always consume too much of anything, and it's bad. However, like as of right now, it's on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. I believe it's ranked like eighth most essential. And that's because it has a lot of uses. Like there were recent studies where they did research on caffeine in the lab, and they found out it can actually slow the process of Parkinson's, can slow the process of Alzheimer's, things like that. Can help in depression or inflammatory medical diagnoses, things like that. So there are a lot of positives, but I feel like there still needs to be research done about the negatives if you consume too much. And I'm still, like I said, surprised that it's taking this long to figure out how much caffeine you need to intake in a day before your body, rejects it. So, yeah, a lot of times caffeine, people say, oh, coffee doesn't work, 5-hour energies don't work, and that's all because of your own personal chemical makeup. And that's pretty much saying, depending on how your DNA is structured, how your body chemistry is reacting with caffeine, that affects how you are experiencing it, as you go day to day, as you consume more and more caffeine. So there's people who it works like normal, like the average use of caffeine. Drink coffee in the morning, oh, I'm good until 2 in the afternoon, and then it wears off. Nice easy transition. Then there's people who are very, very sensitive to caffeine to the point where I've heard people say, hey, when I drink coffee, I get anxiety. And that is a real thing because their body chemistry likes caffeine a little too much, that it goes over and it spills over. And then when it comes to the third type of person, it doesn't work at all. There's very little reaction. They have to drink a lot to even feel it. And that can get dangerous because you're still consuming tons and tons of caffeine. You're just not feeling it. So, yeah, be careful out there. That's another reason why, children have to be wary of drinking too much caffeine, It took me, a few years before I realized Mountain Dew is not just soda. It is a highly caffeinated beverage made to keep you up all night and play Xbox 360 Halo. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I definitely understand why I was not allowed to have coffee at a young age, because those sensitive people I was talking about that get anxiety from it, they also have a higher chance of caffeine dependence, aka drug addiction, to specifically caffeine, where if they don't have caffeine in their system, they just always feel tired. And then that becomes a medical diagnosis. Then you got to take antibiotics, every day to get off of it. You don't want to do that. So, just make sure, you stay aware of your child's diet, and preventing them from drinking too much caffeine or even any caffeine at too young of an age. I would say the cutoff, probably 16 years old, but I'm just spitballing just with how the brain works and, body processing and puberty and stuff like that. Maybe 18, I guess. Now that I'm above the legal age, I can say whatever age I want now. So when talking about caffeine, the USDA, the, Drug Administration, they do classify it as generally recognized as safe. They don't see any reason to hinder somebody from using it or using too much. And like I said, it's just surprising that there isn't a scientist out there studying the adverse effects of caffeine and what it can do to your body. So yeah, it goes on and on and on from there. There's an extensive policy on trying to regulate caffeine, but it never worked out. It's never seen as a big enough deal for it to get to that point. So that's why in society, people drink caffeine like it's water. And some people drink more caffeine than water, and then that's when you get into, oh, you're dehydrated and you're headed to the hospital. So when it comes to current society today, speaking of the USDA, they say they only allow 0.02% or less caffeine in beverages of every 12 ounces. So a 12-ounce can is going to have 0.02% caffeine in there. A 20-ounce bottle will be 1.5 times that, whatever. And anything above 0.02% is considered unregulated. So, by doing so, you definitely want to be careful what you're ordering online, what you're buying, things like that. So when you get to that point, you understand, hey, the government does not regulate this at all. I got to take this, one step at a time, little by little, in transition. And speaking of being extra cautious, labeling is completely unregulated as well. So you want to make sure that you're doing the right things and doing the right research yourself in order to improve the chances that you're not taking anything jank, anything off-putting, anything that's going to ruin your body. And then, so in society, what are like the popular caffeinated things? So coffee, of course, chocolate, and then there's new trends like yerba mate tea, kombucha. All those things are extremely popular, and it just goes to show that if something has caffeine in it, people are gonna consume it. There was a study in 2016 that there are 12,000 tons of caffeine consumed every single year. And that's not including the coffee connoisseurs that actually care about the coffee itself, the process of making coffee, but that's including just everybody who will sit down and drink some Mountain Dew, drink some Red Bull, drink some kombucha, and think that they're being healthy when they did zero research on the product. Caffeine is natural. So if caffeine is in kombucha, it's still an all-natural product. So that's something you got to be extra careful with. And because of its popularity in yerba mate tea, kombucha, other organic natural fermenting items, there has been extensive research to make nootropics with caffeine as the main component, where they're trying to reverse engineer caffeine to benefit the brain, to stimulate the brain in a positive way, not just energy, but to actually get brain cells from sparking off more information. And I've always been interested in vitamins, minerals, nootropics, things like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to the process and progress that they're making. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to touch on caffeine as a science, bring it up because I feel like it's an interesting topic if you want to look it up yourself. And at the end of the day, we just need to further our understanding of caffeine and consume conservatively and responsibly. Thank you guys. See you in the next video.